Well, folks, this is part 10 of Godzilla-thon. And after 15 full years of Godzilla movies, what did the company Toho decide to do? Bring us the movie All Monsters Attack. Not exactly a follow-up to Destroy All Monsters, but something a little bit different. And oh my gosh, this is quite possibly the worst Godzilla movie in the entire Godzilla franchise. Aside from Godzilla, the TriStar movie, but that comes later. This is All Monsters Attack. So it was 1969, man had landed on the moon, Gamera was fighting Gurion, and what better way to celebrate 15 full years of Godzilla movies than by releasing its first ever, child-centric movie. And what exactly do I mean by that? Well, this is the first and pretty much the only Godzilla movie that really focuses on nothing but a kid. And what happens with that kid when he starts hallucinating and having dreams about monsters and fighting monsters on Monster Island. Wait, what? This doesn't sound like a Godzilla movie at all. That's because it really isn't, and I'll show you why. But first, the basic story of this movie is there's this little kid named Ichiro, and he's kind of bullied and picked on by another big bully, which he calls Gabara. And I don't know if that's the kid's real name or not, but anyway, that's what they call him. And so since he's pretty much a latchkey kid, and he doesn't have a mom or a dad that he comes home to in the evenings, he pretty much just kind of goes off into his own little world by falling asleep and having dreams about meeting none other than Minilla on Monster Island and talking to him. Except the thing that makes Minilla even worse is by talking. Yes, Minilla actually talks to the kid, which is sort of creepy too, because this is a little person inside of a monster outfit talking to this kid, being all frenzy and stuff. It's a little kind of strange. But I'll get my head out of the gutter just for this review. Pretty much that's pretty much all that the movie's about, and Minilla is just kind of showing Ichiro all around the island. Now, this movie, in case you haven't figured out, is not very plot deep, and it's not very long either. In fact, it's probably one of the shortest Godzilla movies I've ever seen. But it does have some sort of a weird plot twist at the end where there's these thieves, pretty much, and they're hiding out in an empty building where Ichiro happens to go by a lot of the times. And in this particular moment, he accidentally stumbles upon them, and they capture him, and he pretty much has to fight them off by himself. Well, he's kind of afraid, seeing as he's only like, 6 years old. But he, in his dream, is told by Minilla that since Minya has to fight his own battles, so does Ichiro, and that's exactly what he does. We get a little bit of a Home Alone sort of vibe by Ichiro setting traps and all that kind of stuff for these guys and getting away from them, and eventually leading them outside to the cops, which then take them away. And that's pretty much it, until Ichiro has his own little face-off with Gabara, the bully, and then he's completely, a full human being now. He doesn't have to worry about people anymore. That's a good message for kids, right? You fight off that one bully, and you'll never worry about bullies ever again. Yeah. And that's the plot. Pretty much that's it. Now, this movie, surprisingly enough, was directed by Ishiro Honda. And the only reason I can guess that this movie could possibly come from the same guy who brought us Destroy All Monsters and countless other films is pretty much just the marketing. See, this was 1969, and the Gamera movie franchise was really escalating in popularity, partly because of the marketability to the kids, which by this time Godzilla had become such a popular cultural phenomenon that kids were wanting to get in on it, but the movies weren't always exactly kid-friendly. Especially the ones to come. But so they decided to kind of make it a little bit more, enjoyable for not only the parents, but also mainly the kids. And this is the one that really did it. It was never done before, never really done since, and it really didn't work the first and only time. Now, Gamera movies, on the other hand, did do that, and that's mainly all Gamera movies are about, are kid-centered. And like I said, this was the year Gamera vs. Gurion came out, which was once again Gamera and a little kid and all that stuff. So when Godzilla was trying to be more of a friend with the children, it didn't quite work out. Because, face it guys, that's not who Godzilla is. So most of the action scenes in this movie and the monster battles, which is pretty much the only action scene in this, the only action scenes in these movies, is actually freaking stock footage from Godzilla vs. Sea Monster and Son of Godzilla. And while it does take place on Monster Island, as they did those two previous movies, or at least an island with monsters on it, it doesn't really work because it's all stock footage. Now there is one little tiny bit of not stock footage, which was completely brand new, in which they used a new Minya suit and also reused the Godzilla 67 suit. But, which is a terrible suit as it is, but they did have a new monster. One new monster, which, you know, I will give credit to them. The only problem is that it really wasn't a real monster. It's Gabara, and pretty much the monster version of what Ichiro would dream this bully of his to be if he was a monster. It's a big, warty, giant, green, tailless, ugly, red-haired, horned monster thing that shocks people with his hands, kind of like Emperor Palpatine on Star Wars. And it's, it's not the best monster I've ever seen in the world, and it certainly isn't going to be a memorable one. In fact, this is probably the monster just about everyone in the universe forgets whenever they think of Godzilla. They do not think of Gabara, and there's a good reason for it. He kinda stinks. I mean, literally, he did not even stand a chance against Godzilla. I mean, it was like, there's not even a battle here, come on. There isn't even a fight going on. I mean, Gabara got like one good lick in, and that was it, and he was gone. And that's pretty much it. So, while most of this stuff was cheap stock footage of movies that the little kids going to see, this movie probably weren't allowed to go see when the older movies were out in theaters. It still didn't quite work because it was just stock footage, and that's really all there was. There really wasn't a whole lot of story plot to work with either. And now, like I said, I'm probably tearing this one a new one, and it's not for a good reason, because this was definitely aimed at kids, no doubt about it. But it still doesn't mean that it has to be a sucky movie, because it could be actually good. There are good kid action movies out there. Just take a look at any number of them. But this just doesn't work, and I know that they're working on a limited budget, and I know that Godzilla's popularity was sort of dwindling at this point, but that does not mean that they have to just go and make a stinker like this, and that's exactly what this is. It seems as if there was like almost 0% effort put into the making of this movie, and I really don't know any Godzilla fan or kaiju fan or monster fan at all that even would even disagree to say that this is probably the worst Godzilla movie they've ever seen, or one of the worst movies they've ever seen. It's really bad. Now, I gotta hand it to the little kid Ichiro, whoever the actor is, he's very good. He was a very convincing child actor, and I hope he went on to do something else. I don't know if he did. But he was very good. And the acting, for the most part, was pretty good. And that's Ishiro Honda for you. But the thing is, why would Ishiro Honda, kind of put himself up to this task of friendly childization of Godzilla when it clearly is not going to work? And as we would see in all the consecutive movies, especially in the 70s, it is not for kids. And that's pretty much all I have to say about All Monsters Attack, aka Godzilla's Revenge, as was known in America.